Alright everyone, welcome back to Heather's Mixed Media Studio. I'm recording this on Saturday, the late in March. That's how good I am with dates. And I'm coming down the far side of a head cold, so I'm going to throw in a Fisherman's Friend. These are awesome. If you've never used Fisherman's Friend, if you buy them up in Canada, they come in little packets like this, and they're fabulous. Part of what I love about them, I know, I'm going on about cough drops, who cares, it's almost summer. They're not like a Halls. They're this, like, chalky kind of thing, which, if you've ever had a Halls, is a lot of candy to deal with for a while. And so it's nice to have something that's, like, chalky instead of syrupy sweet. And like I said, they're sugar-free, so I don't know how they make them at all sweet, but they do. Anyway, if you're really having a bronchial problem, if you can find the extra strength Fisherman's Friend, they're a delight. That's all I'm saying. They will make your whole coughing experience so much better. These are lessons that I learned when working at a call center during an upper respiratory pandemic. That Fisherman's Friend is the bomb diggity. That's all I'm saying. So I was watching PM Artist Studios, and they're doing March Madeness right now. And one of the things that they're doing is an accordion book. And I wasn't really going to get too involved in it because I've done that. So I wasn't too worried about it. There's going to be a lot of fluids and a lot of cough drops involved today, folks. That's the best I can do for you. But I was listening to their podcast while driving, and I realized they don't have a podcast. They have a YouTube channel. But sometimes I just like to hear my arty friends being arty, even though I have to be keeping my eyes on the road. So it was a podcast, and it was a podcast about accordion drills. And I was kind of half paying attention, in part because I'm driving a bus and I need to, like, focus on the road. But also it got me to thinking about an unfinished project that I have, and that's what this bag represents, is that unfinished project. So I thought, in the spirit of March Madeness, I would pull out my unfinished project and show you the little bit I know about accordion books, and also maybe actually work in my unfinished projects that's been sitting on my desk for a year. So these are all bits and pieces of things that I've clipped out of things that I did while I was up in Alaska. So there's all kinds of little Alaska references here. Postcards and cards from the library and Parks and Rec and things I rode and buffaloes, boarding passes, anything related to my trips going up to Alaska all landed in this bag. If I'm super lucky, I'll find my passport in here. My passport's missing currently. But yeah, this references like Turnagain Arm and a bunch of different flowers that are regional up there. Balsam family. I don't even know what all's in here. But they're all lovely. There's a team of sled dogs. Selective Invasive Plants of Alaska. That's what that series of things was. And some bears and some elk and pictures of the museum up there, postcards. I mean, just this thing is just a treasure trove of pictures from Fairbanks and Glen Highway and Anchorage. I think I clipped these out of a book or a tour magazine. I'm not even really sure. I like the buffalo bison on that one. Fireweed Philosophy was a book that I purchased while I was up there. And I have since taken the book apart, but it's still got a lot of the poetry that was in that book and a lot of the original drawings that were in it. It was by Mary Curry, and you buy it at Mary's McKinley View Lodge. It was published in 1978, so it's a bit of an old book, but the copy to me was totally new. There's the front of it. So not a very big book. That's like the whole of it. But I cut it apart because I knew I would rather have it in here than as a book on its own. But this is the accordion book that I made. And I'm going to see interesting. I even put a tuck in here. I'm going to see if I can make it an accordion for you. It probably will, but you can see by the build that it definitely started its life out as an accordion book. Bits of it have been glued the way that you have to make an accordion book work. But this started out its life. Let me find a clean page. Yeah, there we go. It started out its life as a map. I didn't do any new folding to this map. All I did when I cut my accordion was cut it along lines that already existed in the map itself. So you're not going to see any extra lines anywhere because this accordion book was done on the lines of the map itself. So I'm just going to suggest that a way you can get an accordion book to be about this size is to get a map. This was a map of the Iditarod. It shows, so you can see where I've done some work on it. There you go. It was the official Iditarod sled dog race map. And we had it hanging on the wall in our previous apartment. And the problem is much of the map looks like this. Like a whole lot of the map looks like this. And it's just this wash of green with a red line going through it that tells you what the distances are from stop 1 to stop 2 to stop 3 to stop 4, and that's the distances there. And it's really interesting if you're really super into the Iditarod, but it doesn't really have a lot of information on the map side about the dogs or the mushers. The map is all about the trail itself. And so I left that in here so that you could read that. And it's right side up, which is kind of amazing. But the back side of this map was completely blank. Unlike when you get a AAA map, it'll often be two-sided. The Iditarod map was white on the back side. So every page that's in here is some part of that map. And a lot of the things that I've added, like this bear was added, the dogs weren't, but this Yukon bit was. The totem pole was added. This little bit of pine tree here was added. And so I kind of have to remind myself what, like the tuck was added, the museum was added. But in the background, there's still all of this stuff about Cook Inlet, and here's Turnagain Arm, there's Anchorage. So I want to keep some of that, but on these upside down pages, I'm going to be able to go and do just about anything I want. And so this is approximately 5 by 7. So there are a lot of sources where you can get maps. If you're inclined to be a tourist and drive anywhere on the interstate, they have all those stops, the restrooms usually, welcome centers, and they have tons of free brochures at the rest areas and at the welcome centers. Those are good places for free maps. I can't guarantee they'll be at the size of perforation and folding that this map was at, but they'll be at the more traditional map scale. And so you could either make one that's, going to be about that size. You could turn it sideways and have a flip book that goes this way that'll be, map size this way. You might also consider reaching out to the Convention and Visitors Bureau of whatever state you want and ask them if they have a packet of tourist information that they're willing to send you. Some of those might also include maps of the area or maps of the region, a tourist map of destinations. Anything that you can get that's like a poster size piece of paper that's pre-folded for you is one of the easiest ways ever to make an accordion book. I've got some aurora going on up here. There's a reindeer there. after they shed the fuzzy bits. I do want to keep the symbol because the official race map is very cool. The other problem with this map is that the race doesn't follow the same route every year. So even though it's the official Iditarod Sled Dog Race Trail map, it's not actually the trail they ran this year or the one they'll run next year, because that all depends on the snowfall they've had and the quality of the trail and all these things. They take the north route in even years, and so somewhere on here is the south route in odd years, but who knows, I might have posted over that already. So yeah, and that's the Alaska train. I can't remember what it's called, Alaska. I can't remember the exact name of the train. But it runs from Seward to Denali. I don't remember it going any more north than Denali, though it might. I may have misremembered. Now, you can see that my spine here made this a little wonky. One of these 2 pages is not quite right as a result of being turned into the spine of my book. But for a first-time accordion fold, I'm totally okay with that. This is actually a picture of Skagway. I worked in Skagway, and so I can tell you immediately stories about that car system and that hotel and their boardwalk. And, so it's all these different memories from going up there, including my original commercial driver's license, which was stowed away in the tuck that I created in this book. So yeah, I figured I would just work on this today and add more stuff and see what else I could think of that might be interesting to go in here, maybe tell you stories about it. That was our boarding pass for the Alaska Railway. These are both mine. So we went down at 6:45 in the morning and back up at 6 p.m. at night. This is the leg from Anchorage to Seward, and then so Anchorage to Seward, Seward to Anchorage. When we got up to Anchorage, we got from Denali to Anchorage by taking the Wilderness Express, which was part of the company that I worked for at that time. And then I think we worked our way from Anchorage back to Fairbanks, probably hauling a luggage truck or something. I've kind of lost track of exactly what we did while we were there. But yeah, I want to cram as much of this into here in an artistic way as I possibly can. Because otherwise, what am I going to do with all this memorabilia from Alaska other than store it in a plastic bag and do nothing with it? This also came from the Museum of the North, which is at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. Art in the Making. And it was really interesting because it shows you a little bit about how to make ceramics, ceramic tools. There's timeline. There's acrylic and pastel. I haven't even read that page yet. I probably should. Tells you different kind of brushes and what they're made out of, and the history of painting. There's some photography, tools you need to do that. Timeline. Printmaking. This might be useful given that I actually make prints now. And I didn't know when I picked this book up that I would be going into that. There's some wood cutting here. So it's just a really interesting little book, and probably pieces of that will end up in here too, unless I decide I need this book just as it is. I haven't really decided on that yet. So yeah, let's spend some time just working in this book. And I'm probably not going to talk for a little bit here because my throat's kind of a wreck. So this might be a little more ASMR than you usually get from me. But if a fun story comes to mind, or possibly a depressing story comes to mind, I'll let you know. I'm kind of okay with the cover the way it is right now. I may change it, but right now I kind of think I like it the way it is. Oh, this is actually from Wyoming. Yeah, some of the Wyoming stuff might go in here. The season I worked in Skagway, I worked the winter season in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and then I worked the next summer season in Fairbanks, Alaska. So a lot of Wyoming stuff is probably in here also. That helped my brain out a little to separate out the scenery from the animals, from the trains to flowers and the like. Okay, we are definitely putting this here. Know that Carrie does this thing where he uses magazines to go under where he's gluing stuff. I don't know that's reality in my world. Could be though. See if I can find a chunk of magazine I don't care about. This'll do. It's got holes in it. I don't care. If I get glue all over this magazine, I will not be sad. Gotta make sure not to cover over Whittier in the process. a picture of the Dalton Highway, and I'll be honest with you, right now I can't remember which one's the Dalton Highway. But since there's a pipeline running alongside it, I'm pretty sure the Dalton Highway is the one that runs alongside the Alaska Pipeline, which goes from north of Fairbanks, well, up the Hall Road, actually, down the Hall Road, beyond Fairbanks to toward Denali and down through that whole region. So it's definitely Prudhoe Bay to Fairbanks. And I think it's longer than that. I like the section with the flowers more than I like that section, so we will cut that section out. And I think when people talk about glue books, this is probably what they mean. It's just, I'm going to glue all these things into a book so that I have them for later. And it hadn't ever really occurred to me to do such a thing until I noticed just how much ephemera I had from all the road trips we took while I was working up in Alaska, and how very little I had ever done with them. And it would be super nice to have something like this just hanging around, that whenever I was thinking about Alaska, I could just open it up and thumb through it and go, oh yeah, I remember doing that, or being there, or seeing those. Which maybe that's the point of a glue book. I don't know. Now, I don't know what your plans are and what you intend to do with your accordion book, but this is what I decided to do with this map one, because it's still got all this lovely map texture behind it, but it's also going to let me, you know, store things like my driver's license and have pictures of the Whittier Tunnel. I drove 40-foot buses through that tunnel. That's part of what I did while I was up there. And it's interesting because that tunnel, the train goes through that tunnel, and I want to say this is the specific train that goes through that tunnel. And so when you're driving through it, you're actually driving along railroad tracks, because they let the train go through first, and then they let all the traffic go through. And then the train comes back out the other way, and all the traffic comes back out the other way. In and out all day long. That's what they do. So it's interesting. And we talk a lot on the tours that we gave up there about Cook Inlet and Turning Arm, because the whole time you're driving people from Anchorage down along here toward Whittier, that's actually the train line, but there's a road that goes along there as well. You're telling people all about Cook Inlet and how that got named, and you're telling them about Turning Arm and how that got named. And this drive here may not look like it, but it's like an hour. So you're along Turning Arm for a while. Okay. So it's an interesting conversation to have with passengers who are like, why are we trapped in this part of the world? I don't know, do I want that sideways or right side up? I don't know. My face doesn't need to be all over it, showing you guys all my personal information. Aren't I awesome? All right. Oh, yeah, none of that's relevant anyway. But still, this would have expired in 2028, except that I replaced it with my Ohio license. I love that they put these holes in it that say void. I mean, you probably can't really tell that, but it does. Oh, actually, this one says Ohio. A different one I have says void. I guess Ohio is just as long as void, so why not? Alright, anyway. I don't want to put anything else on that page right now. So I don't have to do all my pages in order, and frankly, when you do yours, you don't have to put your pages in order either. And again, this page is all upside down, so anything I put on here is going to be an improvement to the upside down page that really only just shows bits and pieces of the dog trail itself. I really like this, and I like the idea of having it down low where he can be a buffalo roaming the plains. So yeah, we're going to keep that. I did buy a ton of postcards, because sometimes that's just the best way to get good art. But I also have a problem where I really like buying postcards, and I tell myself I'm going to mail them to people, and the fact is I never do. I just collect postcards, and I just need to admit that I just collect postcards. I'm going to line him right up there. There we go. And maybe we should put this old fellow on there too. There's a couple different versions of him in here. This one's on paper, that one's on cardstock. They're otherwise identical, I think. Yeah, so I can work with either one of those. We'll do some fussy cutting. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'll just cut the frame. I don't know. I could leave the frame. Nothing on the backside, so I'm not losing anything there. Now, I do want to keep Fireweed Philosophy separate because I may use those words somewhere else in here because I do want to do a spread that features the fireweed as best I can. That's the plant that this guy is holding in his hand. And it's this really cool, this is during its flowering part. It flowers from the bottom up, so these are buds that are going to flower eventually. Once this flower drops off, this little pink woody bit right here is going to become a long stick with a ball on the end of it. And eventually that ball will dry out and the whole pod will split. And then like a billion seeds will fly out of that one seed pod there. Sort of the way that when you go on a white dandelion, all the seeds go instead of being a circle of that floof, imagine one long seed pod of that floof, and the seeds in the floof just go everywhere. That's kind of how it propagates. And it's really cool. It's one of my favorite plants now that I know it exists. Because I didn't know anything about fireweed before going up to Alaska, so that's where I got introduced to it. I understand it lives in climates that aren't just Alaska, but one of the neat things about it is it's one of the first plants to bloom after a forest fire. And so if you go by a forest in the winter, say, and it's all black and charred and gross looking from having just burnt to the ground, come by the next spring, summer, depending on the season and the time of year, and you will probably find a purple magenta, like this kind of colored mountain the next season from all the fireweed blooming. It's a crop that survives fire really well. Now this guy is super big, so I gotta decide if I want to keep him framed like that or if I want to fussy cut around his whole personage. And that's kind of what I want to do. It's going to lose the signature, which is sad. Or I could fussy cut around the signature too. So that is probably what I'm going to, probably going to fussy cut around this guy. But he's going to take up yo amount of space. But that's okay. Now I just got to figure out what I want to put on the rest of this page. I like waterfalls. Waterfalls are cool. Do I want to put a waterfall in here? If I put a waterfall at the fold, that could be alright. I like the idea of having it just after the fold, like it's showering on the bison. That amuses me. Because that's not how bison work, but okay. I mean, maybe bisons like shower, I never asked them. That's a Moan commercial waiting to happen. Now, do I keep the green on the side that's going to fold, knowing that eventually that spine's going to break? Yeah, I'm alright with it. Because again, I mean, this whole page is boring, so whatever I do to it's going to make it infinitely more interesting than it is right now. Now, do I have any idea what I'm doing? No, I've never done a glue book before. I'm not even sure that's what this is. All I know is that I wanted to be part of the accordion fun without having to go to the point of making another accordion. And since I already had a perfectly good one that I wasn't doing anything with already. So there we are. And just to reiterate what I think maybe was Mariah's point, that your glue book is your glue book. You do with it what you want to do. It doesn't have to be a big old fishwife book, which I think theirs is lovely, but yours doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be a glue book like this, where you take stuff from one of your vacations and go, like you don't know what you're doing. That's what I'm doing, but you don't have to do that. If you made an accordion book and you just want to put pictures of accordions in it because you're meta like that, go for it. I also have this cool guitar pick. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to find some way to incorporate the guitar pick itself into a latch closure for this book. Like if I put a string enclosure around it and you had to weave this through a thing, that's a concept. I could make a tuck for it. I could just go, there's a pick in the cookout inlet. I don't know. I don't have a plan yet, but it's one of the pieces I need to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I do want to put Dead Horse Camp in here, but I want to put it on a page that's got more. Why did I put that in there? That's so huge. It would be great if Dead Horse was anywhere on here. Oh, that's a thought. I could potentially put it here. Beaufort wrapped around the front. Yeah. There's the Beaufort C is right there. If Fairbanks, you had pretty much dead straight up. And so the Prudhoe Bay is approximately right there-ish. So I can't really put this near it. So I'm going to have to find a different page to put that on. And different logic for why I'm sticking it there. Logic, please. Who needs logic schmogic? So I think I am going to pause the video, fussy cut this dude, and stick him down over here. So let me put you guys on pause for a minute, and I'll come back once I've got him fussy cut. Alright, that's about as fussy cut as I dare. If I go any closer in on this flower, it's going to get really super delicate, so I don't want to do that. But this is some actual fireweed here, so I'm going to paste that in and kind of make it look like he was plucking, you know, from the plant itself. That's kind of the idea there. Whether it's actually going to look like that or not, I don't know. But that's the goal. Approximately there. I did actually eyeball it based on that river and that mountain, so I'm not like going, maybe it'll work there. I had actually kind of, you know, positioned it out to see what I thought of it. And I liked the idea of having his hands and his face maybe over part of it. I wish the strip I had was wider, is what I really wish. Because I would love if that was there and if he was here. And there's not really a good way to do that. So maybe go a little lower down. I think putting that on the light pink background is maybe okay. Because then that's going to read more as pink than when I put it up here. It reads much more pale. So I might be okay with doing it this way. And he doesn't go completely off frame that way. It should be hunched more this way. So yeah. Probably put him like that. I think that works. But you can see where even the tiniest little bit that I pulled off just made that so delicate. And I don't really want to get into making that any more delicate than it already is. So let's get this guy all glued up and we'll get him crammed in here. Look around, make sure we get his hand. And his boot. There we go. So that's straight. His hands over the purple stuff. I think that'll work. It definitely gives this page greater interest. So like that little vignette. And I think that might be what this page becomes more about, is just creating these little vignettes. And especially covering over the, the boring. This is a statue from Fairbanks. It's the first family, according to this now. Although I love this one. This is the father of the Iditarod, Joe Reddington Sr. It's in front of the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race headquarters. So probably we'll put him in here somewhere too. Maybe over there. And I am choosing to lose a lot of the text explaining what these things are. Because then if future me decides it wants to know more about these, it's going to have to go look it up. Instead of having the information just hand-fed through me to this book, I can just go, I wonder why that guy's holding a sled dog. What's his name? Oh, let me Google that. Or whatever Google becomes in, 2051 or something. I don't even know how old I'll be in 2051. But I'll be older then than I am now. So, good enough. I can't say that I've ever watched anybody work on their own glue book other than, like, P&M, who can kind of talk to each other and they have, like, a massive audience. So I don't actually know what you all want to hear. I did say that I had a sad story to share with you, and I know that's not, like, great for content, but I'm going to share it because it's the main thing on my mind. So those of you who know that I have a cat named Callie, I can throw a picture of her up in the video because I know I have it. When I first moved into my car and started touring and doing van life videos and all this other stuff, one second. Callie and her sister, Coco, both lived with me in the Toyota Prius. So I got to know, ooh, these are gross. These are extra strong original Fisherman's Friend, and they taste like black licorice. I just want them to stop me from coughing while I'm trying to talk to you. Anyway, so I had both Coco and Callie in the car with me. And I can bring a picture of them. I'll bring it out later. I have to go to the other room to get it. Coco was just the sweetest little torty cat you could imagine. A little brindled coat, with the black and the reddish orange color. And she had the tiniest little mew. She was just very precious and tiny. She wasn't the smallest cat ever, but she was smaller than Callie by a large margin. Callie was a chonk, right? And Coco just never boomed out like that. So she was probably maybe an 8-pound cat. And she had this habit of keeping her tail curled around one of her hips. The only time I had ever seen her tail go straight was if she was completely terrified and therefore not at all in control of her tail, or completely relaxed and 1,000% at ease. And those were the only times you ever saw her tail uncurl. Otherwise, it was always in that circle around her hip. So the sad news is they were both approximately 15 years old, because they were litter mates. And so Callie passed away in September. My sister just sent me news that Coco passed away Wednesday evening, I think. So within about 5 months of each other, and that makes sense for litter mates. So anyway, I was sad to hear of Coco's passing. Well, then I got text messages today. A good friend of mine, one of my crafter friends who hangs out in this YouTube thing, one of her beloved kitty cats, Claudia, passed away today, or was gently ushered on her way, I think is how that went, because of brain cancer. Anyway, the big C word, whatever. So it's just, I wanted to ask if any of you have noticed that, like, this has not been a good calendar year for pets. It seems like every pet that I know of or have heard of or that people have told me about, they've all been passing away. And I'm like, dang, what do the cats know that the rest of us don't know? Because they're all like, peace, I'm out. So it's been a rough year for pets. I had another good friends of ours had their dog passed away this past September. It's just, weird. And so yeah, if you've noticed that pets are piecing out of this plan, just drop a note in comments and let me know. Oh, and that's a plug I don't ever make on this channel, but I will today because it's happier than talking about your pets passing away. Aren't I just a ray of sunshine? I don't tend to beg and plead on this channel for, and if you like what you saw here, hit like, hit subscribe, watch it again. But all those things are true if you want this channel to reach more people or be monetizable at some point in the future, or if you just want me to know that you've been here. And I don't mean you specifically, but that I mean somebody had eyes on this video. Aside from me looking at the statistics that are like 7 people watched your video, it would be cool if each of you would hit the thumbs up button so I could go, aw, 7 people thought this was worth going to click. Like I said, I don't usually ask after that kind of thing, but if you're inclined and you would like to do something that, gives me a morale boost, go ahead and click the thumbs up button. That would be delightful. Probably the only time I'll remember to ask in the near future. But yeah, it does do things for content creators like myself. It, lets the algorithm know that you've been watching stuff. It sends the video out to other people who might be like, what's a glue book? How do you put an accordion thingy on? Oh, look, that has Alaska content. I have no idea what the algorithm looks for. I just know that it's important to the process of being a content creator that you ask people to do the click the like button, click the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. Oh, and that lovely segues me into, I would like to welcome viewers 10, 11, 12, and 13. I did notice that you all popped in, and I want to thank you so much for your support for the channel. It's very sweet. And I hope you're finding these interesting. Some are short little things. This is probably going to be another 50-minute one. And even those I do actually break down from the, 2 hours of filming that I do. Because I don't think I ever want to put a video up that's going to be more than an hour long. I'm still adjusting to the idea of having videos that are longer than 15 minutes. But so many of the content creators that I watch in the art sphere are committed to, I don't know how I want to do that. I don't know if I want to put his head in a fireplace. Seems kind of rude. I'm definitely going to trim the sides down, though. People who watch art videos seem to have a longer degree of patience than people who watch van life videos. So I am trying to be mindful that maybe you guys want to see content that's this long since you're watching it. But it's also respecting that the creative process takes time. Things need to dry. You have to make decisions about whether you want the dude's head in a fireplace. And so maybe it's okay that the content's an hour long. But again, I also don't want to make people tired either, so I'm probably gonna put Dude's head in a fireplace. That's probably how that's gonna work. Because if I position it right here, like it is right now, or maybe even I don't think I like that gap, or maybe I don't know if I like the gap. Anyway, if I put his head approximately right here, then the fireplace will still show, and you'll know that if you went into this lodge, that you would also see this fireplace. And that's kind of the thing that I want people to know. I think what I am going to do is rough cut the scrapey bit I just did with my finger so that I don't have to unglue his head and glue it over top. I don't know. Maybe it's easier to unglue his head. I did this once with a different project. This has just been the best palette knife. I may be able to unglue his head with it. And then that might be easier. Yeah, see, I could just unglue his head. That's just easier. That's made my whole life just better. So let's get this one stuck down in there. I don't know, maybe you don't have to put glue on the entire thing, but I'm always worried that if I don't, it'll come up, and trying to prevent that. So there. So we can tuck this under Dude's head here. Well, that might be all the farther I'm tucking it under his head. Yeah, that'll work. It'll do, donkey, it'll do. Now I have to get that part glued, and I don't think glue stick's going to be the way to do that. But that's okay. I have a liquidy glue. And a paintbrush. Somewhere. Oh, I have a glue brush now, that's right. Hello. Sometimes I pay attention to my own stuff. Alright. It's a little stiff from the last time I used it, but that's okay. I'm trying to get better about not using all my brushes for all the things. There. That was probably the best way to do that. Some of the glue's squipping out under the edges here. There. Glue pot. Yeah, it's alright. I'm kind of alright with it. I've still got words and upside downness here. Now the question is, do I want to work in this book anymore today? And how do I want to incorporate this poem, and it's a whole poem, into this book? That might be the very last thing I do, is figure out how to incorporate the entire poem into this book. Because I do like the poem. It's long, but I do like it. Don't know. Alright, I'll have to think about that. I don't think I want wordiness over here, because I've got like these highway signs, and I do want to put them on a page, but I don't think I want it to be this page. I like the stillness of the beauty in the lands and the buildings going on here. Ooh, I have a whale tail. Could put a whale tail right there. Cover up that whole word. And imagine that a waterfowl led to a whale. That's kind of funny. I'm going to trim that a little, though. okay with that. Doesn't detract from the waterfall or the statue, but it covers up those words very nicely. So yeah, we're going to put that right there. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up for right now. But I am glad I got to take some time, work in this book, look at these pieces. I haven't seen them in years. I'm going to have to figure out how to fold that. Maybe that's what we do there. So yeah, this is my accordion book. And topically right in step with what's going on with PM Artist Studio, apparently. And the easy way to do it is to make them out of maps and use the folds that are already there. Alright. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Bye.